Hello, guys, and welcome back to another lesson with Sanchez. Today, we will be reviewing yet again. We're going to do our basics review, and what we're going to be reviewing is how to multiply with signed numbers. That is our goal today. Why is that our goal? Because we just need to review it. We're in lesson 1-2. Technically, it's not even in the book. All right, this is stuff that we just need to know how to do before we even begin. And for some of us, easy. For some of us, really hard. But I think it's overall pretty easy. So if you can multiply and if you can divide, then this should be pretty easy. All right. So our learning targets for today are to be able to multiply with positive and negative numbers. All right. I'm 100% sure most of you guys know how to do it with positives. But today we're going to learn how to do it when it's negatives or negatives and positives, okay? And we're also going to need to be able to divide with positive and negative numbers, all right? We need to be able to both multiply and divide positive and negative numbers. In this case, we call those integers, but enough about that. Let's just move on, all right? So there are three cases for multiplication/division, division, all right? So there's what happens when you get positive times positive, negative times negative, and positive times negative, which is the same thing as negative times positive, okay? So we're going to focus on multiplication right now, all right? And so we're going to focus on this section right here. Positive times positive, all right? What's 4 times 5? All right, I'm not even going to pretend that we don't know. That's 20. Positive times positive, we're used to, it results in positive. Okay? That's pretty simple, right? I'm going to give you guys a practice problem right here. Practice 3 times 2 is equal to what? And then you'll answer that. All right? Now there's our second case. What happens when we multiply a negative number times a negative? So there's a rule here. It's called a double negative, right? So what you're going to do is, first, I just want you guys to know that negative, so let me write that. Negative times negative, that's actually going to equal a positive. Okay? So no matter what if you're multiplying two negative numbers, the outcome is always going to be positive. Okay? So what we do is we ignore the negative sign, and then what's 4 times 5? That's 20, right? That's 20. But because it's a negative times a negative, we're going to have positive 20 as our answer. Now, you don't have to write the plus sign. I just did that to emphasize that we're doing a plus. Now, I want you guys to practice the following. Negative 3 times negative 6. What is that equal to? And then again, you're going to have an Edpuzzle question just prompting you right here. You go ahead and answer that. If you're just watching this straight from YouTube, well then, figure it out on your own, and then good luck. All right? And now we have the following case. Positive times negative. What happens when we multiply a positive number times a negative number? Well, I'll just tell you right now. Positive times negative is always going to equal negative. All right? That's the rule. The rule says we'll always get a negative number when we multiply positive times negative. The way we do this is we go ahead, again, we're going to pretend that this negative does not exist. And what's 4 times 5? Well, Sanchez, that's easy. That's 20. All right, it's 20. But because we're multiplying with a positive and a negative, where our answer is actually going to be negative 20. Okay? And that's the rule. Positive times negative, negative. Positive times positive, positive. Negative and negative, positive. Okay? So I'm going to give you guys a practice problem right here. We're going to have, and the order doesn't matter. It could be negative times positive. It's the same thing. Okay? So I'm gonna write it right here. So we're gonna have 5 times, no, we already used 5, so let's use a new number. Let's use 7 times -2. What's that gonna equal? Hold it, don't yell it out loud. Write it down, and then check with your ed puzzle. It's gonna ask you a question right there. All right, and those are the cases for multiplication. Ta-da! So if you can multiply, you should be able to do this. And I would say that's fairly easy. I don't think I need to go into any more detail for multiplication. But that's basically it, guys, right? It's not too tough. You think you can handle it, all right? Next up, we're going to go over to our next section. What happens when we divide, all right? And as you see here, there's already a mistake. This is saying this should be 2. All right? So that should be a 2. 6 divided by 2, we already know what that is. That is equal to 3. So that's saying positive divided by positive is going to equal positive. All right? These are the rules. This is the rule. And then I'll just write that here as well. All right? So you guys already know how to do that. So, you go ahead and do a simple one. 8 divided by 4. What's that equal? We already know it's 2. All right? But here in this case, when we have negative divided by negative, that's going to equal what? It's actually going to equal, just like above, positive. And why? Well, think about it. The rule is, let's say you have -1 over -1. Anything over itself is always 1. So, boop. All right, so that's how it works. But we don't need to go into more detail. So when we have -6 divided by -2, we can rewrite it. First of all, I want in algebra, you can rewrite this problem as -6 over -2. All right. So we show division using fractions or the division symbol. We're gonna mostly show division using fractions from now on. Okay, so get used to that. You see, it's negative over a negative. That's gonna equal a positive. So what's 6 divided by 2? That's 3. And because it's negative over negative, it's going to become positive. Okay? So negative divided by negative is positive. All right? And now we get to our last case. Positive divided by negative. All right? So if you have positive divided by a negative, the rule says that our answer is going to be, you guessed it, negative. Oops. Gotta stay color coordinated. Negative. But then some of you guys might be wondering, well, Sanchez, what about negative divided by a positive? Order matters in division, Sanchez. Does that affect the outcome? And the answer is no. It's still negative. All right, so these are the rules. Make sure you write this down. All right, so when we divide, we just divide like we normally would. All right, so it's going to be 6 divided by 2. Ignore the negative, right? 6 divided by 2, that's 3. But because there's a negative right here, you're going to make a negative right here. All right, so answer is negative. And if we had a problem such as -10 divided by 5, you see, negative divided by positive, that's this case. It's the same thing. Because there's a negative here, and it's positive here, then our answer is going to be negative. 10 divided by 5 is 2, and because it's negative and positive, it's going to be negative. All right. Now, I want you guys, and like I said, you can do these problems like this. It can look like this. That's the same thing as 10 over -10. Oops, this is -10 over +5. That's going to equal -2. All right, so you can rewrite it as a fraction, right? So I'm going to give you a problem, and I'm going to write it in fraction form because that's how you're going to have to get used to looking at it. And so the problem is going to be, what happens when you have -8 divided by 2. What does that equal? And you're going to answer that on Edpuzzle. But basically, that's it. Those are the rules, man. They're pretty simple. All right? Remember, and then basically they're the same thing for division. If you're dividing or multiplying and both numbers are positive, the answers are going to remain positive. Look, it's very similar. I want you guys to focus on this. Positive times positive gives us positive, right? Same thing as positive divided by positive stays positive. The same thing is going to happen. We have negative times negative. That gives us positive. And negative divided by negative also gives us positive. And then for those who don't believe me, positive times negative equals negative. And it's the same thing. We have negative times positive. All right. And then same thing with division. Positive divided by negative equals negative. Negative divided by positive is also negative. And that's the whole lesson. You're going to have some practice problems on Schoology. If anything of this confuses you, make sure to visit me on my Zoom sessions that, will happen. You'll have the schedule up on Schoology. And have a good day, guys.